Hello, my name is Daniel, and this is the Engineering Success Podcast, episode 76. It's been a little minute since I recorded my last episode. Sorry, guys. I've been really busy at work. For good reasons, lots of fun things going on. I can't really complain. I like to be busy. I'd rather be busy than bored. But yeah, life's been a little bit busy. Let me give some shout outs real quick and then I'll get into the rest of the updates. Shout out to John Ott and Leroy Jenkins. Thank you both for your support of the podcast as top tier supporters. Your $10 a month donation gets you a shout out at the beginning of every episode of the podcast and helps me keep my website, engringsuccess.com, going, where you can email me at daniel@engringsuccess. Thank you, John and Leroy, for your continued support of the podcast. If you too would like to become a top tier supporter, there's some links in the show notes, or you can shoot me an email and I'll connect you. Life is good here in Charlotte. Again, busy, but the weather, it's a little hot today, but the weather is kind of getting into that beautiful fall time that we have here in Charlotte, and I am so grateful for. So a little warm today, but weather's good. Baby E is over 2 years old now. I don't know. I think they were two before the last episode, but yeah, 2 years old. And yeah, I can't really can't say too much other than that the life just keeps on getting better and better. It's definitely a really good time hanging out with the little one and watching them grow every day. All right, well, if you stumbled on this podcast for the first time, the Engineering Success Podcast is a career podcast where we talk about, we either talk to people that have achieved career milestones, like senior level professionals and people that have reached retirement, and ask about their journey to achieve those career milestones, or we do a mailbag episode where we talk about crazy things in the world of career searching, like LinkedIn. College questions, engineering, career questions, internship questions, all of the above. So, with that said, let's go into our first segment this week in LinkedIn Lunatics, a collection of crazy things that I have compiled from LinkedIn. All right. Sandwich leave. All right, this is a new one for me. Let's see what this is. Let's click into it. Understanding the sandwich leave policy. Ever heard of sandwich leave? It's not about food. It's an HR leave policy used by many organizations. What it means, if your leave days are on either side of a weekly off or holiday, those in-between days are also counted as leave. Example, leave on Friday, weekend leave on Monday, total leave counted 4 days. Why it's used: to ensure fair leave management, to discourage extended breaks during a minimal leave, and to maintain work continuity. Note, exceptions may apply for official duty or medical emergencies subject to HR approval. Have you ever experienced the sandwich leave rule at work? Did you find it fair or restrictive? / #HR, # leave policy, # sandwich leave, # work culture, # HR management, # employee engagement. Jesus. No, I haven't experienced that at work, and thank goodness. I think that if I was interviewing for a company and they said that was their leave policy, then I would leave the interview and not consider working for them. That is ridiculous. Let me know if you, in any professional setting, have ever experienced an arrangement like this. I've never. It sounds absolutely ridiculous. And if you are an HR professional and you're considering pitching this genius idea to your management, don't. In fact, this is kind of the exact opposite of the way that I encourage people to manage their PTO. We have limited PTO, but we want our employees actually to take as much time away as possible. So taking advantage of sandwich leave is actually a good thing to do. I'd highly recommend that's what everybody does. I don't understand why anybody wouldn't do that. So yeah, don't do this. Don't do sandwich leave. At least don't take people's PTO away for it. All right, 10 out of 10 on the lunatic scale. All right, next one is titled I won't hire a great candidate because of pronouns. All right. And he goes on to say, ooh, that's not good. There we go. No pronouns in staff email signatures. That one sentence killed a great interview. I recently interviewed a candidate for head of school at the School of Entrepreneuring. On paper, she was excellent, experienced, thoughtful, and aligned with our core values: project-based learning, student agency, and master-based learning. Towards the end, I shared a small but intentional policy: no pronouns in staff email signatures. Not because we're anti anything, but because we want to keep the school free from ideological signaling from any side. She paused, clearly agitated, then asked, "Who did you vote for?" And just like the conversation was completely over. Yeah, this wasn't our candidate. I told her respectfully that my voting record was irrelevant, and that this was exactly the kind of thinking we were trying to move beyond. That we shouldn't care. Okay, I'm not going to read the rest of it, but the fact that it matters so much to you that you ban pronouns and email signatures is you want to keep the school free from ideological signaling. There's no real ideology behind including your pronoun and your signature for your emails. People have gender neutral names, and people prefer to be. I don't see how that's ideological signaling. Tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. I think it's a weird. I think it's a weird thing to kind of bring up as like your hard line in your job interviews, and also sounds like a made up story. It doesn't really sound like a real story. But yeah, I mean, if no pronouns and email signatures is like so important that you bring it up in your first job interview, maybe because this person had it in their email address whenever they're emailing you. I mean, it's like the least problematic thing ever to make some of your people feel more included, and just use that as the thing that you use to weed out candidates. I think you're going to miss out on candidates because of it. So 10 out of 10. Yeah, if an interview started getting into the minutia of email signature policy during an interview, I think that they're going to be a nightmare to work for. Yeah, it just sounds made up. Like this guy really wants people to know that he doesn't allow email signatures, pronouns. It doesn't sound like a real story. Okay. Well, that was LinkedIn Lunatics. That was two crazy things on this week's of LinkedIn, and probably controversial enough that people will disagree with me in the comments. I just think it's not a big deal to allow signatures to have pronouns. I think it's pretty docile. But if pronouns upset you, then whatever. Okay. Let's go into questions about pursuing engineering in college and from kids that are in high school, college. All right. Next one is chemical engineering dangerous? Hi, I'm currently a high school student and plan to study chemical engineering. It sounds fun to me since I'm good at science and math and like chemistry very, very much. However, I've seen very many news talking about the incidents happened around the world on chemical engineers, such as explosions in the plant and poisoning in chemicals. They look so dangerous, I can't be sure anymore whether I'd want to go on to this industry. Do you think that I can still learn it or not? Thank you for your advices. Good question. I think that, I also had similar concerns whenever I came into the industry. I'd say that, we as an industry do a pretty good job, or historically have done a pretty good job of regulating the chemical facilities that that's those are all of those regulations that have been created, all of the safety policies that have been created in this industry are written in blood. People have died for much of the regulation that exists in our industry to keep these plants safe. So what I'd encourage you to do is maybe spend some time reading up on the regulations yourself, and also whenever you see things in the news about things getting quote unquote deregulated in the industry, which is a common thing here in the US right now. We're seeing a little bit more deregulation, which deregulation is not necessarily a bad thing. we sometimes we create a lot of regulation, and we don't necessarily phase out other regulation when we create new regulation. So it's always good to look at the regulations and reevaluate the appropriateness of different regulations. But what I do is if you're hearing stories in the news about incidents happening around the world, look at the country that you're planning to work in, do some research on those incidences that have happened, how recently they've happened, and what has been done to help mitigate those things moving forward. Do some research on those companies and what kind of changes that they've made. A lot of companies like that. If you have an incident, there's usually some kind of obligation to kind of talk about what happened and report about it and talk about what you're doing to mitigate it. Usually there's a lawsuit, and there's a lot of news around these things because you're already hearing about it. So I just encourage you to research it more for yourself, and see if you're comfortable with it. I'd say that I don't think that chemical engineering and working in the plants in the U.S. is any more dangerous than any other job. I think that there's a lot of really good safety regulations in place to help keep these plants running safe. It's very important. Safety is the most important thing in this industry. So, ask those questions whenever you're interviewing. If you get to the point where you're pursuing jobs, but okay, I guess you're still in high school. What I just ask yourself is, research the companies and what they're doing for safety. Maybe go to their websites and see what they have posted about safety, and then continue to talking to engineers in the industry in your country and asking them about what they think about the safety record of the companies that they work for in the industry. But it's a good question to ask. It's a good thing to consider. Top comment is, realistically, you are in proximity to hazardous materials. Follow all PPE and safety requirements, and you should be fine. You are not the only one literally standing there turning these valves on a daily basis, so your chances of being exposed to an industrial accident are not really all that high. No higher than any other type of industrial accident that could occur in other fields. I wouldn't get too worked up over it or go into safety and make things safe for people. Yeah, that's kind of my take on this as well. Is that it's kind of it's an industrial industry, and it's about as safe as any other industrial industry. We work really hard to keep things safe. All right. Next one is it worth getting my MBA in arc/civil engineering? Hi, I'm currently a 20-year-old civil site engineering intern going into my junior year of college. I've been thinking about a lot about my future throughout this internship, and the idea of an MBA has come up. Me too. I had the same thoughts the summer after my junior year. I'm not the most technically proficient. Granted, I'm an intern, and I don't see myself wanting to become a CAD wizard. Well, most engineers aren't. However, I've noticed that one of my skills I excel at is people. I'm a great talker, and I find that I can explain difficult concepts relatively simply. Throughout this internship, I've also been a little bit more interested in the business side of engineering, more so than the technical part. And I feel that with an MBA, my ceiling is much higher. So my question to anyone who has considered it and gotten their MBA, was it worth it? Why? And to anyone who has considered it and decided not to go for it, why not? Do you regret not going for it at all? All right, so I was in the same boat. I was also considering getting one, and I haven't ruled it out yet, but I'm not Bailey, dude, chill. I'm not currently planning on getting one anytime soon, especially with the kiddo. Oh goodness. I'm not planning on getting one anytime soon, especially with the kiddo. Dude, Bailey, chill. I got my cat trying to crawl on me right now. All right, you want to make an episode? You want to make an appearance in the episode? You can. All right. Crazy cat. Yeah, I'm not currently planning on getting my MBA, but that doesn't mean that I will never get one. I did the same thing as you. I talked to a lot of people that have MBAs and senior level leadership positions, and I've been talking to them. What I learned is that what you get out of the MBA the most is, especially if you're moving internally, is what you learn from it, not necessarily that having the MBA in your name. And I kind of agree with that now that I've spent more time. Unless you're using the MBA to kind of network your way into a specific position or specific role, then once you have your MBA, nobody that you're working with will listen to you more because you have an MBA. I have plenty of coworkers that have MBAs that don't put it even in their email signature. what you get out of your MBA is what you learn from it. So if you want to learn about the financial and business operational side of things, then for sure, go get an MBA and kind of pivot yourself into that operations type role. That's still my goal, is to kind of go into that executive leadership, engineering operations kind of space. And I've kind of been working my career that way. I'd say that, being good at people, you still have to be good with people as a disciplined engineer. You still have to be able to work on multidisciplined teams, and the better you are at explaining things that are difficult concepts to other people, then the more effective you'll be and successful you'll be as a disciplined engineer. So that's not exclusive. Just because you're good at talking to people doesn't mean you can't be a good design engineer. But if you are finding yourself most interested in the business side of things, then I would say start in engineering, maybe try to work your way into the project management space within engineering to kind of get that kind of understanding of how the projects go, and then work your way from there maybe into kind of operations is what I would suggest you do. So these kinds of things, like, nobody like just kind of gives you that kind of job for an engineering consulting company because you have an MBA either. I mean, it kind of comes with experience. If you want to grow into operations at a consulting firm, then you're going to need to learn the operations of the firm. I'd say that's the case with like most companies. If you want to grow in-house, is that the most valuable experience that you have that can lead you into an operations management kind of business side role is the experience doing those types of things for that company or in that industry, more so than your MBA. So just if you want to grow in that direction, just as quickly as possible, kind of getting into that side of the house. Doing what I do, I'm a commercial manager, which is kind of a growing field in engineering. I do PM some of my own projects, kind of take different roles on all different types of projects, but generally I do get involved more in the operation side of things. I get to work on things like rate schedules, and I get to review proposals and run business reviews and that kind of stuff. Any kind of role within your company that exists that where you can kind of still touch the project work but get some of that operations experience will be extremely valuable to you. So at this point, for me, I feel like I'm getting a better education the more that's more relevant right now and just doing my job. But that's me, and that's not necessarily everybody. So yeah, I'm not, again, I might get an MBA. I definitely won't be the one paying for it. I'll do it if somebody pays me to do it, if I have the time for it. But I have no regrets in not getting my MBA yet at all. No regrets at all. Okay. Next question, and this is the last question in our engineering college questions. Goes, good minors for civil engineering with a discipline in construction. Okay. I started school in the fall and I was wondering what minor would benefit me for construction emphasis. I was thinking of GIS, but also economics. I'm going to West Virginia University and they offer a good bunch of minor courses in jazz. I'm trying to think of another minor that could be beneficial to me in the long run. Any advice is appreciated. Currently, I'm thinking of GIS, chemical engineering, economics, engineering leadership, environmental economics, environmental protection, mechanical engineering, sustainable low-rise residential construction, and sustainable design. I'm going to go on a limb here. Environmental economics, especially if you want to go into land dev, and I know you don't really need a minor, but my favorite class. This is just a me response. This is not necessarily a you response, but my favorite class I took in college was my environmental economics class taught by Dr. McDermott. And I pursued an economics minor. I did not need it. It's done nothing for my resume. The minor has not moved the needle on my resume for anything that I've done. So I wouldn't look at it as kind of the resume determinant. Your minor, don't look at it like that. But again, same thing like the MBA. It's what you learn from it, and just kind of understanding the policy that goes into influencing how projects get developed in the U.S. is extremely relevant, and understanding the economics behind the capital investments that are happening has been just knowing that that's a moving feature, and having the interest and trying to understand it has served me well in my career. So I'd say environmental economics, because I mean GIS is cool, but if you don't do GIS, then I mean GIS. I think GIS is kind of the other one because you're a civil engineer. GIS would be good, but you're not necessarily going to do GIS. But understanding how the GIS stuff comes together is also super valuable. Any of those would be good. What I'd say is focus on just graduating on time. We all come into college with big aspirations, and we're all really really good students, and and we're traditionally used to just excelling academically. So we're like, oh yeah, load on all the academic things. What I'd say is that if you ever get to a point where you are maybe thinking of not doing a summer internship because you just want to maintain that minor and you have to take a couple summer classes to stay on schedule, or you're in a situation where you're just taking a tougher load than you have to just to squeeze in that minor, or you're working, you're not able to take a part-time internship during the school year because you need to get enough credit hours to get the minor, then I think you're doing it wrong. I think that your priority should be able to graduate with a civil engineering degree with internship experience in relevant and irrelevant fields. You can learn what you like and what you don't like. That should be your number one priority. So anything that takes away from that, especially if this minor start taking away from that, I'd say go ahead, yeah, fine, start pursuing it, especially if it's not much extra coursework, and especially if it's coursework that you're already going to be taking as electives at the end of your 4-year career, so you can kind of make that decision then. But if you're trying to like front load a schedule that like has to be done, this class has to be taken this semester freshman year, and this class has to be taken this semester sophomore year, and just to get this minor, then I think you got your priorities all backwards. So yeah, that's what I have to say about your minor in civil engineering with construction. All right, well that was this week in college questions. We have one question about internships, and then we'll get into the rest of our career questions. Our internship question goes as follows. I didn't learn anything at my civil engineering office internship. Right now, I'm doing a full-time internship at my civil engineering office. I will be starting my 4th week next week, but I'm not sure what I've learned, if anything. When I look back, I think I would have learned much more if I had just stayed home for the past 3 weeks, and I would at least saved on the time and expense of commuting and food. Currently, they give me an architectural project, and they ask me to draw the structural reinforced concrete project for it. However, this is a bit complicated for me because I have no knowledge or experience with this program. It feels like giving a car to someone and telling them, take me to Miami. Furthermore, I finished a project, but he neither reviewed it nor did anything with it. I want to see my mistakes, but he doesn't seem to care at all. What do you think I should do? If it continues like this, my internship will end without me learning anything. Well, at least you'll have learned that maybe this is not the company you want to work for when you graduate. They gave me a project, but it's complicated for me because I have no knowledge or experience with this program. Yeah, that's pretty normal for interns, and it's rare that you're able to actually accomplish anything during an entire summer internship. And sometimes if the office is really busy, they might not have as much time to help you. It just, internships can kind of be a crapshoot sometimes when it comes to what kind of experience you get and whether or not that experience is useful. But take from this, it's a great thing on your resume. Having an internship on your resume will serve you well. So you should just look back on this and say, maybe I spent some money commuting and on food, though I'd argue that you'd have to eat anyways. So I'm not sure how that's that big of an issue, but you do have to eat regardless. So I wouldn't say that's an extra expense. But you spent some money commuting, and now hopefully you got paid a little bit and have an internship on your resume, which should serve you well in your career. 3 weeks is not very long. Let's read the comments. 3 weeks isn't very long. They expect you to be slow, so don't worry about that. You get feedback on the drawings, but there's likely work your supervisor is needing to do along with it before you'll see anything. Yep. You're complaining about not learning anything, but when given a task drawing the rebar, you're saying it's too complicated. This might sound a little harsh, but you got to learn how to do it, then do it. That's what engineers get paid for. Presumably, you can ask your supervisor to point you in the right direction. Next one, some reality checks. The engineer in charge of you has to go out of their way to give you work. You are not their top priority. It sucks sometimes, but because you want to give interns a valuable experience, but you can't. Second, the task you've been given is probably just an exercise and is not actually going to go in an actual plan set, report, etc. He's probably having you redo something that's been done already. It's still a valuable experience, and when they get around to reviewing it and giving you feedback, value it. Finally, finish out the internship and pad that resume for when you graduate. No, sitting at home for 3 weeks is not better. Agreed. Sitting at home for 3 weeks is not better than having an internship. That is a fact. All right. Well, that was college questions and internship questions. We're going to take a quick breather and come back with a long little round of career questions. All right. And we are back with some career questions and just like engineering industry questions. This will be fun. All right. This one's more of an engineering industry question. Do we underfund the project sector at a higher cost to taxpayers? I work in the public sector, and I'm often blown away at how much design consultants and contractors charge to do work we can do in-house. We are just understaffed. Why? Why pay a huge markup year after year rather than just hire a few more engineers and maintenance staff? I'm guessing we'd save money in the long run and build more institutional knowledge this way. Has this been studied? Am I missing something? Yeah, this has been studied. There's plenty of public sector engineering organizations that are probably much larger than yours. And I'm not necessarily saying that yours has done the math correctly, but it costs a lot of money to maintain a large staff of in-house engineers. The reason why you pay consultants is because you don't have to pay for their overhead and of maintaining that large staff and training and developing that large staff and paying them whenever you don't have work. I'm guessing that somebody's done the math at some point in time and has determined that it's more cost effective for you to pay more dollars per hour for the hours that you use these consultants, especially whenever you to get the experience and expertise that you get from these consultants. Plenty of large engineering organizations do a lot of their own engineering in-house. I'd say that they probably have it right. Because they've probably done the math. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean don't reevaluate every once in a while, but your hourly rates are high for your consultants, but that's not their employees' pay. That's, and pay is not the only cost for operating an engineering organization. You have all the softwares that they maintain. Again, all the subject matter expertise and engineering development that they do of the young engineers. The ability to handle all kinds of different projects that you have to deal with as a public sector organization. Just maintaining the level of expertise needed, I think you'd find very expensive, much more expensive than you anticipate. But yeah, the public sees public sector employees as too expensive with generous benefits. They see consultants as cheaper options, even though the contracts are just, if not more expensive to the taxpayer than just hiring staff to do it. It's mostly a public image lobbying thing. I work for a consultant, so maybe I disagree. No, you're missing nothing. I also disagree. I guess it probably routine design engineering work. I agree that routine design engineering work is always cheaper to do in house, but big stuff. Just if you have a big project, you got to hire a lot of people, ramp up a lot of people, and then get rid of them after the project. So it's much more effective to just hire a consultant. Finding qualified staff, hiring them, onboarding them, getting them familiar with your processes and procedures, doing the project, executing the project with your own, developing the processes to run big projects, and then offboarding all those people. It's often probably more cost effective to hire a consultant to do that. They're more equipped for that kind of thing. So yeah. I'd say that it's probably, again, if you have the volume of work to keep your in-house staff fully busy all the time, then probably, you know, hire up as many people as you can to do as much in-house work as you can. But there comes a time when uh, when you when it's no longer more cost effective to do it in-house. All right. Next question. Engineering recruiters piss me off. All right, well, I upvoted it, so let's see. Fantastic. I get to bust my A off at school and do BS clubs at school. And then I can't wait for the 78th recruiter to tell me that none of that matters and what truly matters is what's inside the heart. Because for some effing reason, they value some unquantifiable characteristic of passion, which is basically how much you can pretend to give a S, while they pretend that they are some judges of one's character, aka shitsos, who can think that they can see something that's not there. They're all like, oh, I did so bad at school. Yeah, that's probably why you suck at your job. And the only thing you had was a big smile. They don't value hard work and want to cope themselves into thinking they somehow learned more as a C average student because they truly tried to understand the content. And extracurriculars. Oh, you volunteered? But you don't seem like someone who would do it genuinely when you put it on a resume. WTF do you want from me? Apologies for this shizo paragraph. I've been on a slow crash out towards the end. Anyways, recruiters, if you're reading this, please know that it takes a ridiculous amount of effort to learn the material, and that discipline will always take someone way further than what passion will ever get you. Wow, that is a crash out of a rant if I've ever seen one. All right, top comment. You don't understand the game. Passion means someone's going to work 20 hours extra per week on the same salary. Passion means someone will be okay with not getting a raise or being promoted and will want to be loyal to the company because they're passionate about the work. Passion means when layoffs come around, you're going to be willing to do your job and your coworker's job after they're gone. This guy understands passion better than I do. Wow. Okay, we're all crashing out here on r/engineering students. And then you need to be passionate about fooling recruiters. Fight with fire. All right. Second best comment. This is good. All a diploma does is allow you to be qualified to apply for the job, just like the thousands of other new graduates and other engineers which could have applied. Getting that first job is hard. The only thing I found that matters is having internships during college. Yep. And then the next top comment, I believe, is me. Thousands of engineering students graduate with engineering degrees every year. Yes, it's hard, but plenty of people do it. You've got to give me some reason to believe you'd fit into the culture of my company and see what value in what we do at a bare minimum for me to want to consider hiring you. This is the safe place to crash out, but obviously don't do this in an interview, lol. I'd like you to learn the golden rule. The person with the gold makes the rules. Like it or not, you do not dictate what employers are looking for in interviews and candidates. They're the ones looking for a person to pay to fill a job, and they're the ones with the money. You need the job and the money. Sure, vent about the process, but learn how to play the game or spend your career sitting on the bench. Yeah. I mean, if it's obvious, I mean, you obviously know that the recruiter wants to understand what you're passionate about and how it aligns with what their company does. So come up with an answer. It's that simple. Play the game. Research the company. Research what they do. Understand what they do. Find something about it that's interesting to you. Find something about the role that's interesting to you. Make it so that the recruiter can understand why you are not only educated enough, but the best fit for that role in their views. They can pass you on to the hiring manager and play the game. Because if you don't play the game, you'll be stuck on the bench. Yeah, that's so yeah, engineering recruiters don't piss me off though. The ones that call me and just like try to get all my info and then put it into like a so they can put it into like a system because they said that they have a position for me and then there's not actually a position. Those people that want to take like 30 minutes of my time on a random day because they quote unquote have something that's just so great. Those people are annoying. I don't respond to those people. I don't take their calls because they're a waste of time. But yeah. Ooh, we have our first deleted question. All right. Next one. Senior project control specialist without education. I have a friend who's been working as a senior project control specialist for this O&G company, but has no education, 7 years of experience, making six figures. It just made me think that there's people out there with an engineering degree that can't even find a job. I feel like it's a slap in the face for those who do get an engineering degree. How far up the ladder can just experience take someone like my friend, or would they eventually need to go back and get their THERE education? Well, first of all, you need to get your education on how to spell. Sick burn. But yeah, no, you don't need a. I would say that I would take for project controls role. I'd take somebody that's been working in project controls, can schedule in P6, understands how cost works, and understands how projects come together in the field over a fresh college grad, and pay them a lot more than them any day. Especially if I was hiring for senior project controls, you don't need an engineering degree to do project controls. Engineers can go into project controls, but you don't need an engineering degree to go into project controls. So I think it's a slap in the face to me that you don't understand that. Top comment is, I feel like it's a slap in the face for those that do get an engineering degree. Their success has nothing to do with you or any of us. It's much harder for them to prove that they have the skills that someone with a degree that they have pulled it off. Just be proud of them. And I'm going to add, they're your friend. Last piece to answer your question, it's very company dependent. I've been at some that are very serious about the required qualifications. Others are more lax. Again, engineering degree is not required to work in project controls. I don't understand what these people are getting on about. Yeah, here's my comment. I think the only slap in the face here is your personal entitlement and attitude towards people who have taken a different career path than you. Learn how to appreciate and value the knowledge of experience of others, or you will fail. Wait until OP finds out how much master schedulers make. Don't need a degree for that either. Likely more than OP ever will make with this attitude. Field to planner to project controls. Scheduling is a viable career path. Welcome to the industry. Yeah. I would say you don't need an engineering degree to work in project controls. And I know a lot of us engineers work with people in project controls. Don't judge people for their educational background. Work with people that are experienced, trust them for their competency, and don't treat people that you work with as inferior because they don't have an engineering degree. Because you're going to work with a lot of people that don't have engineering degrees in this career space. A lot of them, a lot more than you'll anticipate. Next question is, wife lost her job and I need a raise. Backstory, last week my wife lost her job out of the blue for no cause. I make $60,000 a year as an assistant PM for a commercial sub. I've gone over our monthly budget, and even with making the cuts where I can, I'll be left with about $300 a month and putting nothing into savings. For a family of four, this is cutting things way too close for me. She'll be eligible for unemployment, but that won't be much and won't last forever. Question, I'm not earning what I should, however, I'm in year one. I'm currently managing 36 active jobs and seeing 11 to completion with exceptional results. My goal was to ask for a raise at my 12-month mark in October, but given my change in situation, I feel like I have to give it a try earlier. Any advice for the conversation of a raise? Should I bring up my situation or should I rest solely on merit? Thanks all, and sorry for the long post. Immediately facing being the sole financial provider is extremely stressful. Yeah, it is stressful. I'm sorry that you're going through that. Let's answer your big question. Should I bring up my situation or should I rest solely on merit? Solely on merit. Yeah, asking for a raise because you need more money is not a reason for a raise. Asking for a raise because you're delivering excellent results and performing above your compensation is worth it. So what I'd say is that you said you've managed these projects excellently. How are the financials on the projects? And if you don't have visibility to the financials, if you have visibility to the financials, bring up metrics on the financials on how well the projects have performed financially, and ask for a raise that way. Definitely don't just wait for the 12-month mark. I mean, again, time and obviously time is like time-based raises are raises you get to keep up with inflation. And then asking for a raise for a change in your personal situation is not a reason for a raise. So how do you get those out of schedule bumps? You get those out of schedule bumps by demonstrating your value. So pull up the metrics on your project. Talk about how well you're delivering. Say, hey, I understand that it's my first year and you hire people at a lower salary and to see if they're working out. But look at me, I am working out. I'm working out very well. I am killing it. Here is all the value financially I'm bringing. I think that there's room to compensate me more. I'm managing all these projects. I'm performing at this level, and even you can even go online and look at what the average pay for somebody in your position is in your industry. That's a good thing to look at. Yeah, I agree that managing 36 projects is probably a lot more work than I'd expect from somebody making $60,000 a year. And you've seen 11 to completion with exceptional results. I'd focus on those results, present them to your management, and have a number in mind. And that number can't be tied towards what you need. Though what you could say is you could look at again averages and cost of living in your area. Is your position keeping up with cost of living in your area? But again, not your personal situation and not time bound. So that's what I'd say. Let's see the top comment. I think I'd ask on 2 grounds: your performance and inflation. Yeah, I guess you could do that. But I'd say inflation is a minefield. Yep. I would focus on the going rate for what your position is, how you're meeting expectations or exceeding expectations, tie it to your performance. And also, the other thing I'd say is that start looking for another job. You have some great experience under your belt. I know it's been not that much time, but you've only been there for a year. It sounds like they're paying you less than what the market pays that position. And if they're going to continue to, if you get from this conversation with them that they're going to continue to try to pay you as little as possible, then you want to work for a company that pays market wages. So start looking as well. All right. Next question is road to 150,000. Hi, I'm a student studying civil engineering. Reading this sub makes me question if I should have been more ambitious in the career path I chose. It's not all about money for me, but I do want a lifestyle where I can help my family and not worry about money and afford to travel. Is it possible to make $150,000 or more in this field after 5 or 6 years? I'm willing to put in hard work. Just curious if anyone has been able to achieve this or if I picked a career with too low of a ceiling for what I want. MCOL. Well, first of all, making $150,000 a year, you're still going to have to be conscious about money and reasonable about travel. So I don't know. I'm not sure 150K is the right number. But yeah, it's possible to make 150K or more in this field after 5 or 6 years. I almost did it at 4 years, but that included compensation for cost of living. I was working out on a construction site and getting paid in per diem for a housing allowance. So I was getting that. But yeah, it's possible. I'd just say, work in the field, be a mercenary, work for EPC firms, live in the middle of nowhere, be willing to travel and move all the time on projects, and live in a trailer, get some get that you drag from place to place, work extended overtime, and get yourself as much money as possible. But after 5 or 6, I mean, even after 6 years, you can become a doctor, and you can be 4 years in med school if you get in. 2 years of residency, and then a couple more years after that if you want to specialize. And you'll be like $300,000 to $700,000 as a doctor, but you'll also be $300,000 plus in debt, and years and years of not making money. So I don't know how to help you. You can make that kind of money. You put in hard work. No, but any kind of, it's the same in any industry. Accounting, finance. You're not guaranteed $150,000 a year in anything except for maybe Maybe if you're a doctor, but even as a doctor, I mean, you could not pass your board exams and then have all that debt, and then not become a doctor, and then you have all that debt. That's not a guaranteed thing. You could work extensive hours in residency and completely burn out and then quit and then still have all the debt. I mean, nothing's a guaranteed thing. So if you're ambitious and you work hard, and you network and kind of play the game right, then yeah, you can make $150,000 or more in the field after 5 or 6 years. I wouldn't expect it, but you can. Maybe Kimley Horn if you work 80 hours a week, or Kiewit site engineer. Yeah, you can, especially for you. You know, the value of the dollar might be lower too, 5 or 6 years from now. Yeah, I'll say yes, you can make it. It's pretty reasonable, especially if you work for an EPC firm or work for a company that allows overtime or travel extensively. I think you can make it. All right. Next question. And I'm going to make this my last question. Let's see. All right, here we go. What is even the point of salaried positions these days? I mean, I'm pretty much expected to hit 40 hours every week with my 8 to 5 schedule. If I have to take a half day or some time off, I'm expected to use my PTO. Emergency time off is just that, an emergency, and probably happens once a year, if that. But as far as working over 40 hours is pretty much a guarantee most weeks, even if it's only 1 or 2 hours. So it seems to me that salary is not a benefit to employees, but mainly to employers. It only seems like an excuse to not pay you over 40 hours of work. Just curious if others feel the same. Yeah, that's about right. Especially if a company is doing a good job of keeping work in coming in, then yeah, if the company is running the way that they want to run, they'll keep you busy for those 40 hours, and then maybe you'll give a little bit more every once in a while. I'd say that you should expect some level of professional privilege as a professional, that you should expect to be able to kind of flex your time as a salaried person, and not have somebody watching you on the clock for every minute that you're on site. But the pro to employees is that, you know, if things are slower, then and there's not 40 hours of work for you to do, they can't just tell you to go home. You're still guaranteed your paycheck. The stability of that paycheck is why I like being a salaried employee. And for me, you know, I give some, I take some. It works out. My work-life balance, it kind of goes both ways. And if you're in a situation where your culture doesn't allow for that, then, well, I mean, you're making the choice to continue to work there. So that's the point of salaried positions these days. See the top comment, and then we'll close out. I don't think salaried positions were created to benefit employees. They're there to easily budget labor. And as I said, somebody else said that it's a protection for underemployment. Yep. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for this episode, listening to this episode of Engineering Success. If you enjoyed it, make sure to share it, like, subscribe. It's all free for you to do. Really appreciate your support, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace. I'm miscommunicating. I just made a pilot, then they threw me on the stations. Now I'm not complaining. My thoughts get complicated, I cannot explain in lameness. Never losing focus because I ain't chasing payments. Still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries, thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify, they put me on the station.